Alright, today we'll be going over the NBA free agency moves around this NBA offseason around the 30th of June. Kicked off around 3 p.m. Eastern over to July 2nd. And Eric Gordon got signed over to the Phoenix Suns after a massive trade resulting to add depth over their outside shooting for the Los Angeles Clippers. Also, Patty Mills is now in OKC after a stint in Brooklyn. Josh Christopher from the Houston Rockets. Wasn't he a first-round pick for Dillon Brooks? And then Dillon Brooks got signed over a deal. Damian Jones to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then Obi Toppin, a young forward from the New York Knicks that was pulling up some strides. He was developing more of a three-point shot, spot up and being more of a playmaker than just the athletic dunker from Dayton that we started over in his rookie year. And we thought he was developing into a key contributor over to the team. But I guess there's so many limits that the Knicks want to do because they're obviously trying to contend. So Obi Toppin for 2 future second-round picks. Unofficial, they're protected. Obi Toppin will be possibly given a more secure role with one of the best distributors in the Eastern Conference out of Tyrese Halliburton that got paid like $260 million this year over a max contract deal. So congratulations to Tyrese Halliburton. Best of luck over to Obi Toppin. I liked his dunks. I liked his play style. And he seemed to get along with most of his teammates, even though he had a bit of a spat over with RJ Barrett around the second half of the season. But that's always going to happen, especially with younger players. But he was like a first-round pick of the 2020 draft, literally a year after RJ Barrett was the year prior. And he's coming over a hype season after Duke with such a big freshman class. Max Strus, after a bit of time, outside shooting performance around the regular season, not really much in the playoffs, but shown that majority of these undrafted playoffs, players has potential to be key contributors over on the team. Gabe Vincent got signed over to the Los Angeles Lakers earlier around this free agency, and then Max Strus that officiated a $14 million contract to clear up over cap space for a second-round pick received over from, I think, the Cleveland Cavaliers in a three-way trade that involves Sidney Osman going over to the San Antonio Spurs, a longtime Cavalier, with Lamar Stevens. So that's big as well. Miami Heat making more trade news, possibly so they can free up for an option to be involved in a trade involving Damian Lillard that recently required after a decade of wasted prime. We are seeing Damian Lillard possibly go over to the Miami Heat. After years of mediocrity and first and second round exits out the postseason. By the way, Victor Oladipo returns back to OKC, and he hasn't been there since the involvement of that Paul George trade. So, yeah, good luck on him. Really, I really hope Victor Oladipo can clear off his injury history that's been haunting him since his second season in Indiana. Domantas Sabonis got a max contract deal. We know Chris Middleton's returning back over to the Milwaukee Bucks. Kyrie Irving got signed over a 4-year max deal so they can possibly get some future assets because we know Kyrie's not willing to share the rest of the floor over with Luka Doncic, in my opinion. They're doing this for asset reasons. Same thing like Bradley Beal signing over that Supermax for a guy that averaged less production than he did like 3 years ago. And I'm not trying to say that like Beal's ass. He's a great two-guard that's playing over on a highly offensively jam-packed offense that now got Eric Gordon that can help over their depth problems. But I guess veteran minimum contracts is all you got when you got like two max contract players. Like 3 max contract players. Excluding, I think Devin Booker. And there's only so much cap you can get when you sign trying to possibly get future assets away from DeAndre Ayton. That I feel like you should trade him to the Dallas Mavericks. Fred VanVleet signed a big contract deal, now with a playoff contender, with the Houston Rockets of all places. The Houston Rockets. And they just got rid of T.T. Washington. And that was like a first-round pick from just last year. As well as Usman Gubara for Alpha Kubo. Who is that? T.T. Washington already got traded. Just so they can cap off their wing, I guess their guard position a lot more. Jalen Green. And you got Dylan Brooks to play over as a wing anchor. Don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully Sengun can have a breakout sophomore season. And I guess that's all the high expectations I have for this Houston Rockets team, in my opinion. I don't want to be pessimistic. It's already been a questionable. It's already been such a questionable offseason so far for certain teams, especially on the long-term effects of still keeping Tim Hardaway Jr. over, Reggie Bullock, Raekwon Holmes. Completely different foundation involving the Houston Rockets, with Jalen Green and VanVleet being a backcourt with Jabari Smith, Sengun, and now we got to deal with Thompson. Emin Thompson. They possibly need to pick up a wing, and Dylan Brooks is possibly playing over as a rotational starter. And we don't know what to do with Jayshawn Tate. This is a very questionable rotation that the Houston Rockets have really got to build themselves close. Are they trying to contend, or are they trying to? Because getting a young, still prime guard that can make in such an undersized position, and still trying to share the floor over with one of the more scoring two guards, that in an undisciplined rotation with a new head coach, even though he's made it to the NBA Finals before. It's going to be a huge transition for the Houston Rockets to get out of what they were with their previous head coach. Javon Carter signed with the Chicago Bulls, obviously with their rotational problems with Lonzo Ball. Speaking about Ball, LaMelo Ball got a massive contract this year. No, I'm not playing around. LaMelo Ball got a massive contract this year, and it is freaking insane. If I can go and see how much LaMelo Ball just made 5 years, $205 million, around $50 million less than Tyrese Halliburton, but still one of the highest paid point guards in the NBA. That's nothing to be ashamed of. Brandon Miller is given $49 million. I don't think they really made any moves yet. All they had to do was just secure LaMelo for the long term after conversations of him possibly leaving, because Hornets are shit. But Michael Jordan doesn't own them anymore. So that's the upside. I know Mike Conley got re-signed. Tyler Hero is fully healthy after he was back, recovered 100 around partially percentage back at Game 4 of the NBA Finals, but he wasn't obviously playing because it's a fractured hand. So he'll be back, possibly back around tip-off for the regular season. Westbrook is up for a 2-year, $40 million contract after a good performance in the second half of the season. Guys, we know damn well this is the Western Conference Boston Celtics. Clippers are obviously not going to contend. I have more optimism that the Lakers can possibly still make a finals push after making it to the conference finals with a team made in the second half of the deadline. And Austin Reeves, D'Lo, good to keep that front court, that backcourt over the rise. Austin Reeves has been an outstanding player. D'Angelo had a resurgence, but just underperformed like he always did around the postseason. LeBron, there's only so much he could still do around the starting position, especially when he can still move out the ball. We know that he's not the primary scorer. It's Anthony Davis. It has to be Anthony Davis. LeBron's just a good all-around player that can still push up 30, but we can't have him push the highest amount of shots, or else the Cavaliers are in huge trouble. But I think the biggest protocol is what's going to happen with Derek White. By the way, Derek White's bald now, guys. Derek White's bald. biggest offseason move of the year. Derek White is bald, ladies and gentlemen. So, Brook Lopez and Milwaukee just kept certain players for the long term. I expect Drew Holiday to possibly leave, or Grayson Allen. They have an aging rotation, but they keep the key contributors, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Brook Lopez, I think he was third or second in voting, with Bam Adebayo. But Jaren Jackson Jr. just stole the award from him after a good show-out performance after being the first seed. Hopefully, Giannis Antetokounmpo can somehow, lead this team back to the promised land, or else they think it'll be a fluke. Chris Middleton signed over for the long term again for the Milwaukee Bucks. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I feel like their backcourt does need a bit more of a key contributor. Drew Holiday's a great guard, don't get me wrong, but they just need a better key contributor that can possibly make or control the floor a lot more. That's my opinion over in the matter. We all know that there's a lot of off-season moves that are going to be on a ride if Damian Lillard goes to New York, or if he goes over to Miami. That's possibly the biggest move for him, so they can finally get some pressure off the scoring rotation, off another guy that can drop 60, with a guy that can drop a triple-double that can chase down off the block. But Kyle Lowry obviously plays more of a secondary team rotation. He's a great guard. Has literally the highest three-point percentage on the Miami Heat for a 36-year-old point guard. That's depressing. Not because Kyle Lowry's bad, but we shouldn't expect our veteran players to be still producing high over the younger prime players in the Miami Heat. So that's a bit questionable to see what's going to happen for the Miami Heat. If Damian doesn't go over to Miami, there's a secondary option that might catch a lot of people off guard. Desmond Bane signed a $205 million contract with the Memphis Grizzlies while Derrick Rose is still there. Just signed a 2-year contract after literally being the New York Knicks' temporary mascot for the past 2 seasons. And Dylan Brooks has gone to Houston for Josh Christopher. But, we know the disciplinary problems with the Grizzlies. And Desmond Bane is a good outside shooter. Dylan Brooks leaving was possibly the best choice. He's been there for quite a while and has some disciplinary issues with, trying to be the trash talker while producing worse than Kendrick Perkins from behind the arc, and can possibly give that energy over to a young, undisciplined team like the Houston Rockets. And, I don't know, Udoka could possibly teach them how to pull some bitches, because we know he can do that around on and off the season and in the facility. I'm so sorry, I had to make that joke. I apologize. So really, we're still in the tinge. Jeremy Grant just signed with the an extension with the Portland Trail Blazers. Anthony Simon, and we know Scoot Henderson's possibly going to make a starting rotation spot. That's why Damian's leaving, even though he should have left like 3 years ago as soon as they got rid of McCollum. And one of my favorite signings around this offseason, we're going to head over to the New York Knicks. Knicks, after even getting rid of Obi Toppin, they signed a $50 million deal to Dante DiVincenzo from the Golden State Warriors. Dante DiVincenzo, he was a rotational outside shooter for the Milwaukee Bucks, but he showed out in the Golden State Warriors play style, and it really worked out for him. It seems like he can mesh well in a good deal. Seems to have a good all-around play style, good outside spacing of the floor. Very talented player for the Knicks to sign. I do still have a bit of a dodgy opinion. Good off Josh Hart staying. I feel like he's a good outside play, a good rotational player to keep as our sixth man. and just a good chemistry over the secondary unit, and he can drive around the paint for a guy his size. He's a great player. Miles McBride, he needs to develop more of his three-point shot. I will be paying close attention over the rotation. See if Emmanuel quickly can develop. If Miles McBride could develop, I think Isaiah Hartenstein is still on the Knicks. And Mitchell Robinson, I don't know if there's still trade rumors involving him. By the way, Kyle Kuzma re-signed for a 4-year, $105 million deal with the... Yeah, he re-signed with the Washington Wizards, with the Nizzards. And remember that trade over for Jordan Poole? Get ready for some empty calories of production, because that guy is going to be averaging 29% from behind the arc, and the Knicks is possibly going to be dropping 34 a game. In a losing effort. It's going to be like the Houston Rockets regular season when Jalen Green, not Jayshawn Tate, or not Jabari Smith, Kevin Porter Jr. were like combining for 74 points, and they were losing by 30, and that goes into like 10-game losing streaks. By the way, why is Harrison Barnes still, and this is a veteran minimum contract? That's veteran contract extension? Harrison Barnes? Really? Harrison Barnes. Alex Len agreed to a 1-year... Like there's no other good centers other than Alex Len. Nikola Vucevic got an extension. Why didn't they try to get for Nikola Vucevic? He was actually playing 82 games this year. He was actually producing somewhat inconsistent around behind the arc, but he could actually get, on the floor and block. Chris Dort from the Indiana Pacers? Chris Dort, he had some bright spots last year. I wonder why they got rid of him so early in his career. I like Chris Dort. Well, Chris Dort is gone for draft compensation. Hopefully he can be good on the secondary unit for the Sacramento Kings. I disagree with keeping Harrison Barnes still on the rotation. I feel like there's better playmaking wings that could be still available. Possibly trade for Brandon Ingram over his deal. Tobias Harris, but I know nobody wants to take that goddamn contract. Scotty Barnes, thanks Dennis Schroeder's now on the rotation. There's a lot. But I feel like they're really trying to make this a contending league. Like, if the Houston Rockets can try to get Fred VanVleet, there's got to be some other moves that I'm missing here. But after just a breakout regular season that had the Sacramento Kings close the distance in a 7-game series against the defending champion 2022 NBA Finals winning the Warriors, and become third seed in the Western Conference with 2 breakout All-Stars out of Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, why not give Sabonis an extension? Try to keep the guys that were still in the rotation, like Kessler Edwards. Trade Chris Dort so you guys can build over for depth, and try to keep that foundation alive with a good head coach. So yeah, I'm not seeing much wrong with what the Sacramento Kings did this offseason. I guess I'm gonna rate that shit like a C+. Cam Reddish. Yikes. Cam Reddish. Jackson Hayes. They're really trying to get a young rotation. 3 years for Rui Hachimura. That's a good steal. Great signing. As well as D'Angelo Russell for 2 years, $35 million. They can't lose off that deal. 4 years, $56 million off Austin Reeves after impressing LeBron James. Literally, who else would you impress? Taurean Prince. Literally the journeyman with dreadlocks, but no skill. Gabe Vincent for 3 years, $33 million after breaking out around the postseason. I think he did better production than Jimmy Butler, in my opinion. And Cam Reddish after getting traded for Josh Hart in the Trailblazers trade. Hopefully Cam Reddish can actually develop. do as much as kept Lonnie Walker was actually supposed to do. Still athletic, still young. If he can't develop around the age of 25, I feel like you get rid of him, bro. And Malik Beasley declined a player option. I think he still wants a bigger role after, getting benched around the postseason. And Mohamed Bamba got waived by the by the Lakers. So, I wonder what's the move here? That's all I'm going to ask. I think that's all you can ask at this point. Denver Nuggets, the defending NBA champions, agree on a one-year extension for DeAndre Jordan. Reggie Jackson, that literally did nothing but got himself a ring. But his salary got reduced by $333 million. So I guess they're trying to sacrifice for rotational steps, but they're still keeping their depth. And Reggie Jackson's a good person to have over the secondary unit. DeAndre Jordan, I think you can start him still sometimes on the rotation. Obviously not in the 5 a lot because we know Nikola Jokic is at the 5 a lot. Let's go over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Luke Garza, they keep Nikhil Anderson-Walker, that's a good perimeter defender. Shake Milton agreed over a 2-year contract with Troy Brown and Nathan Knight. So Naz Reid. So all they did was lock up guys that actually produced in the second in the playoffs. It's like shit. We were close to pushing down to 6 games. We get eliminated in the first round still, bro. I think we got a chance. Whose fucking mans is this? This is why you got literally. This is what we're getting off the Minnesota Timberwolves team. If they're locking up their depth and they're still thinking they can still get a contending team off that front court, they are dead wrong. Get rid of Karl Anthony Towns now. Try to compensate what you can with Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, because I feel like that's a good pick and roll attempt with one of the best shot blockers still, rim protectors in the NBA. While Towns is good at scoring. He can't space the floor. He's never a reason why the team wins, and he's just such a negative personality in the locker room. There's no leading mentality with Karl Anthony Towns. If he wants to be a complimentary piece over in the front court, he can go over to Washington. Or hell, he could possibly go to LA. Or, help out the Clippers. Help out. Be a reason why they get mopped up in the second round when both those fucking wings get injured. Please. Kobe White agreed over a 3-year, $33 million deal. I still feel like he's a good point guard for the team. Nikola Vucevic, 3-year, $60 million. Derrick Jones Jr. declined a player option earlier around the month of June. So it's just DeAndre Jordan, just Andre Drummond, Javon Carter. Only Javon Carter is the only pivotal signing that they've made so far. And the New Orleans Pelicans, yes. I'm kidding, we're going over the Utah Jazz. Get over it. I think the only thing was Jordan Clarkson signed. Yeah, Jordan Clarkson re-signed over with the Utah Jazz. And apparently that broke the computer. Going over Utah Jazz was just too much. And he agreed over a contract extension. Damian Jones got traded. And they keep Taylor Horton Tucker. So the only big news that they've had so far was the Rudy Gay trade for John Collins. So far, we're like 3 days in, and we're still yet to get any major things. We obviously are waiting for the Lillard trade. What the future is going to hold for the New York Knicks if they're going to keep Julius Randle. We know Joe Ingles from the Milwaukee Bucks signed a 2-year deal to add some veteranship to the young Orlando Magic squad. Phoenix adding depth over to their lineup. And I don't know. They even signed Yuta Watanabe. And Chim has what? And they kept Damian Lee. Kate Bates doo-wop they even signed. You see, all they're doing is just getting minimum contracts for role players. Yuta Watanabe had some breakout performances, but I know they wanted to keep him for possibly some cap. So good off Yuta Watanabe. Hopefully he gets a bigger outside shooting role. And I know Kevin Durant was quite impressed with him over when he was still in Brooklyn. Eric Gordon still has some playing in the tank. And Damian Lee. Doo-wop had some upside. I'm not going to lie to you. I like Doo-wop's performance. If Kate can just be a good all-around defender around the secondary unit and play disciplined basketball, hopefully defense can be a lot more easier. Because this is like a 3-year deal, and he's been quite a journeyman after one stint in Minnesota, Denver, Minnesota, San Antonio over the past 2 seasons. So hopefully the head coach can actually build something around the defensive secondary unit while the offense does a majority of the scoring. Josh Okogie even signed. Drew Eubanks. And I heard some upside about him involving as well Ishmael Wainwright. So there's a lot of upside with, I guess, the role players. Especially my favorite player out of all this is Yuta Watanabe. But I think we're going to close it off here, guys. Over on the Sidelines Production Podcast involving the NBA offseason so far. So, 3 days in, a lot of woos and a lot of woes and a lot of oh-nos. We're going to close it off here, and hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your night. And if you guys don't see this video before or after, I hope you guys have a great 4th of July. Enjoy celebrating America, or at least celebrating it with your family, or hell, you're getting free food anyway, so why are you complaining? That's it for me. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.